Type and row type. As you can see from this picture here, Oracle will allow you to use %type and %row type to declare variables and record types against the structures of Oracle database tables. Here I've got three separate variable definitions for the declare section of an anonymous procedure. Here I've defined the variable called I as being an integer. I've defined a variable called category as being of data type category dot name %type. What happens is that the category variable becomes exactly the same type as the field or column called name on the category table. Last line defines categories, which is actually something called a record, which is an exact copy of the structure of one of the rows in the category table using category %row type. We'll see more on those in a minute. Type. You can create a type in Oracle. A type is like a class structure where you can use it to create user-defined structures, both inside and outside of PLSQL, such as in tables. As you remember, we discussed records when we were looking at %row type. Here is a record definition duplicating the row structure of the category table. What is a record? A record is literally a structure which is very much the same as a structure definition in the C programming language, or really the structure of a table in terms of its columns and its data types. In this case, we've set type as being type name is a record, and we define the columns explicitly. In this case here, we defined and declared a record as being a copy of the column structure of the category table. Let's go more into record data types because they're quite important when dealing with accessing database table rows from within PLSQL. Records actually allow step-by-step stepping through each row within the results of a select statement inside PLSQL. In this case, we're declaring, as with the category record declaration, a record which is a copy of the column structure of the ACT using ACT %row type. So the ACT %row type actually declared a record called RACT as a copy or an exact duplicate of the structure of an ACT row. In this case here, we're actually predefining our own type. This type happens to be called tshow for type show. It's declared as a record, and it contains a column which could originate in the show table, plus one that could originate in the venue table. Well, it does originate in the venue table since we declared it as being the same type as the venue.name field, plus we have an ACT name which is the same type as the ACT.name field. The point is we don't necessarily have to fill it with data which is a join of those three tables, that is, show, venue, and ACT. Now this is a type. RACT is a record. Here what we do is we declare a record variable as being of type tshow, which is of the type type. So creating the type creates a definition for a record, and here we actually create the record itself as against the data type tshow created by this type command. Let's go and look at some samples. Here I have an example of a record type with an anonymous procedure that doesn't do anything. Remember, null does absolutely nothing. Note that between begin and end there has to be at least one command, otherwise we will get a compilation error for this procedure. This code is exactly the same as the code I've just shown you, except it's in my script file. I'm going to copy and paste it and simply compile it and execute it in the database. Nothing happens because we say do null, which means do nothing. but we can see that it all compiles correctly, no errors come out.